And here we are back with another live stream. Troy Francis, Mr. Jack Napier, how are you, sir?
Hello, sir. I'm doing well. How are you? Where you're at?
Yeah, not bad, man. I mean, I'm actually in Berlin at the moment. I travelled here yesterday, realised I didn't have any English to EU adapters, so I had to rush out and go and get a couple, which is really annoying. So this is the problem with travelling. One of the many problems with travelling is that not only is it kind of destabilising and quite tiring, but also there's just like mini mess ups like that. It takes up so much time.
Hmm. I
You
mean,
know,
but
it's not time efficient. You know.
no, I know what you mean. But you'd think because England is so close to like the rest of Europe, you'd think they'd have the same plugins.
I don't really know why we have different plugs, actually. And I did go. I think I started googling it the other day. I need to chat GPT it or something because it is quite interesting. Because why the hell? As far as I know, England is the only country that has that sort of that three-pronged plug in that shape. I think. So I don't know why we have to have a different plug, but
I think the Americans have something similar. I'm
no,
not
because
sure.
The Americans have. Well, it might be similar, but it's not the same shape.
No, no. But I
Um,
do remember it being three things. So it's like, can we just have a global thing? Like, fix this. Come
I
on,
know.
21st
Well,
century, fix
it's the
this shit.
people that it's the people that sell these adapters making like loads of money out of it. Basically, there's a global
Ah,
cartel of them who are forcing everybody to.
I would not be surprised. No,
The lizard
seriously.
people. The lizard people.
Oh God, yes.
Yeah, it's
How's
probably
the
my.
weather in Berlin right now, by the way? Because in the Netherlands, it's clearing up, not as well, but it's getting semi better. I heard yesterday that if today would not go above 20 degrees, we would have 6 months under 20-degree weather in the
Really?
Netherlands. Yes, absolute shit.
Well,
Garbage.
is that that's not true though,
I need to
right?
fact check it, but I was appointed to that statement where it's like, yeah, if you know, like we're almost 6 months into below 20 degrees in weather. It's like, oh my God. Like, no, I need sun, a lot of it. But it's typical Dutch because even then, when the sun starts shining, it's like it's too warm. It's like, oh, for God's sakes!
Yeah,
If you
yeah,
had to
yeah.
choose, which one would you rather? Like, die because of heat or freeze to death? I truly think I would go with the heat because
Probably the
cold is
heat. I mean, the thing is, um, cold is it's very debilitating. Like you don't want to do anything when it's too cold. I mean, actually, I guess you don't when it's too hot as well. But there's something quite dynamic about heat, and it's very depressing being in these dark, grey countries in the middle of winter. And so I think I'd probably have to go with heat. Yeah. Although I mean, you know, with,
yeah. I don't know. I mean, being too cold takes too long as well. It's like, oh my God, just get it over with.
yeah, yeah,
With the
exactly.
heat, it's just like
Exactly. We've
maybe a
got
couple of
Gordon
seconds.
Watts, Florida man here. The heat is great, apparently. Well, I was in Miami in January actually, briefly, and yeah, I mean it's always good over there, man. Always good. Unfortunately, we have this thing in Europe where it just gets super cold for about 8 months of the year, and then we get a little bit in the middle where it's quite warm, and then that's it.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, it's all good though, man. I mean, I just got so much on at the moment. It's just been super busy, loads and loads of stuff going on.
How's the book coming along?
Well, so I basically sort of finished it. There's a couple of little bits I've got to add, which I'm going to be doing later or tomorrow. I'm edited, which is going to take about a week because I just want something to go through and give it a quick once over, and then I'm pretty much ready to go. So that is quite exciting, but it's not a game book as such. It's a novel. So it's only going to be, I mean, interesting to see what people think of it, but it's going to be of interest to a certain proportion of people maybe that follow me. But after that, the next project is to start working on a proper game book, the first one that I've done for several years, and this is going to be quite a meaty tome. So I'm quite excited to be cracking on with that as well.
The magnum opus of game.
Exactly. Well, I mean, Rouge V's already written that. He called it game.
Wasn't it bad? Yeah, was actually pretty good. But like with Roosh, every now and then it's kind of like, because he even measured the time it takes in a conversation to go to the next step, where it's like you talk about 2 minutes about this, and then about 1 minute and X amount of seconds about this. It's like Roche, just can you be normal? Just can you
Yeah,
be human, please?
yeah, yeah. Super, super. Yeah, kind of bordering on autistic about this stuff, which a lot of people are. A lot of guys are when they study this stuff. Because the thing with guys in dating is that they want a logical answer to it. They want a model. They want to say, right, 1 + 1 + 1 = 3 or
Yeah.
whatever. And of course, it doesn't really work like that. 1 + 1 + 1 = 13 sometimes in the dating world. It's just, it doesn't make logical sense because we're dealing with emotion, not logic. And that is the thing that people really have difficulty getting their heads around.
Oh yeah, pretty much. I mean, the last month has been abysmal for me. Where it's like it's shutdown after shutdown after shutdown. It's like, oh god, but it
Two
does
skinny,
excite.
two skinny dudes podcast. Let's go. We should make that the name. We should we should make that the name of the show.
Pretty much. But like the rejection does excite me because
Mm.
like I've had success before, I will have it again. And all these no's will get me closer to the yes kind of thing. I mean, it's frustrating. It's frustrating as hell. But
Yeah.
I will be damned if I give up. I swear to God,
Well,
I will be.
I mean, yeah. As you say, I mean, some people go through these periods where it's just there's not a lot on the table, and it can be feast and famine sometimes, but that's just part of the game. And
I will openly admit though, I canceled a girl yesterday because I was not like fully into it.
yeah,
Like
well,
she wanted to come over, and we had the time set, and I was kind of like, yeah, but you're not fully it, you know? It's like, eh.
well, that's fair enough. I do that all the time. I mean, like, if I'm not really, well,
It's a daily habit.
no, but I mean, if I'm not really feeling it these days, I'm just like, I just can't be bothered, man. I mean, like, she's got to be pretty good to warrant doing the whole thing, if you know what I mean.
And this one was a bit older as well, and I was like,
Oh,
no,
God.
I don't want to do 28. It's like, no.
Oh, disaster. Pretty
So
much.
like, I mean, that's past wall, 28. It's like, no, I can't do this to Twitter.
Over the hill, over the hill. Yeah. So what are we talking about today? So we are here to talk about Robert Greene, but I mean, as always, we can veer off in different directions. But we're on law 4, aren't we? Always say less than necessary.
Yes.
No, that's rule 1. What the fuck am I talking about? You say what it is.
Well, it is law 4. Always say less than necessary. We're on that one today. Law 1
Oh shit!
is.
Yeah, no, we are. Sorry, what am I talking?
Yeah.
Yeah, always say less than necessary.
Yeah. So a lot of guys, and this is in the beginning of the book where Robert Greene mentions that there is this personality trait of people wanting to be honest. I'm genuine. I do what I say and I say what I do, kind of thing. Well, that's all fine and dandy, but not everybody's going to appreciate that, and especially not everybody who has maybe in a job description has a higher function than you, kind of thing. Always say less than necessary as mostly Machiavellian end goals in mind, where it's like, shut up for once and stop speaking just because you want to speak. Because not everything you say is interesting, and your opinion, even if you're right, won't always make you happy. Because people still have a say in things.
Yeah. Well, I mean, is it because? I mean, the key thing to me about this seems to be you don't want to telegraph your plans too early on. Like, for example, I mean, I'm talking now about this, having written this book, and I can sort of do that now because it is finished more or less. But I was quite uncomfortable talking about it too early on in the process because I don't know what it is really. There's part of me that thinks you can almost jinx things if you say, "Yeah, I'm going to do this amazing thing," and then you don't do it. So there's that. There's also the thing of sort of, I don't know really. You don't want to just give away your show your hand too early to other people, do you?
That too. But funny you should mention this. There is some sort of mental thing that when you haven't started the project yet, but you keep saying, "Oh, I'm going to start this project," you're already getting the hormonal reaction of doing it before you've
Yeah,
even done it. So in that
yeah,
sense, it's always better to shut up if you haven't started yet. But in your case, you had already started the book and even almost finished it.
yeah, yeah. Well, let's see what he says in the sort of intro to this. Judgment. When you are trying to impress people with words, the more you say, the more common you appear, and the less in control. Even if you are saying something banal, it will seem original if you make it vague, open ended, and sphinx like. Powerful people impress and intimidate by saying less. The more you say, the less likely you are to say something foolish. Or sorry, the more you say, the more likely you are to say something foolish. So that's interesting, isn't it? Because I think what he's saying there is you can say things, but don't say too much within the thing. So it's like sending out a tweet that's quite enigmatic, that says something like, I don't know, it's going to be hard to think of an example really, but women or the high value man does X, but you don't specify precisely what X is. So it leaves a sort of degree of ambiguity around the topic. And then people think, because you haven't given much detail, oh, that guy must be super, he must be this kind of seer, this kind of like, modern day prophet. Whereas actually, you've just not said very much. So you've given them room to imagine for themselves.
It's like Naval on Twitter who goes like, "Drink water," and then you think to yourself, "But how much water? And what time of day? And from what? A cup? A
Well, it
bottle?
becomes
What? Oh,
well with people like that, and probably the Tates as well, and other who come to prominence. It becomes a sort of a self-perpetuating thing, doesn't it? Because as you get bigger and more influential, you can say very small things, and because you've got a big fan base and a big group of people who are interested in what you have to say, they will read into that for themselves, and they will just assume that it's extremely profound and significant just because you said it. So if Naval writes "drink water," people are, oh my god, people will write these like 7,000 words blog posts about it and everything, and really do the work for him.
pretty much. And
You know what I mean? It's like
yeah, no, I know exactly what you mean because like the tweet is ambiguous, and I just made a joke about like, oh my god, what time of day? But there are people who do that. Like I saw this tweet Naval posted yesterday about you should drink more water, but why should you drink more water? And here's the science behind it, and what's the best time of day to drink it? And should you drink from plastic or glass? And then these are the hormonal effects of plastic, and then you get this entire fucking blog post on just drink water. It's like, well, people will find or look at Naval's tweet like, oh my god, did he really tweet that? And yes, like this sounds like a stupid example, but I will guarantee you people will do it. Speaking of Tate, by the way, I laughed so hard at that tweet of his where what was it? He's like, today I might care about the environment, and then he's like, oh, well, never mind. I will not live in fear. And he had this giant stack of pizza boxes as a reference to that Greta meme where the pizza tweet was the one that got him arrested. And he just sits there in this pile of pizza boxes like, I don't live in fear. It's like, for fuck's sakes.
Yeah. I saw that. It was quite funny. It was quite funny, definitely.
Sits there like completely like, uncut, like the beard still out, the hair not done. Like, I don't live in fear. Come get me. It's like, I don't know, man.
Exactly. Yeah, it was pretty funny. It was pretty funny. I mean, yeah, man. I don't know. The show's on, doesn't it? Really, it was interesting to see how that develops.
Yeah.
Really.
Speaking of, always say less than necessary. might be an example there.
Well, yes. I mean, I suppose that is another application of it, really. I mean, okay, let's take it back a step. So what? Because you're very familiar with the material, and I skimmed it today, but I haven't read it for a while. So maybe what do you think Robert Greene's main point is in this chapter? What do you think he's, before we take it off in our directions, what do you think he's basically trying to say here? Is it more this be enigmatic type thing? Is that what he's really getting at?
Well, Robert has the tendency to always like dress it up a bit and make it theatrical, but I think his main
Yeah.
point was that we have the tendency to always give our opinion. Like somebody says something, it's like, oh, but my opinion, or like, but my experience. Like, you know, that when you tell a story and people go, well, I had that too. It's like, it's not about you. Shut up. Because when you become aware of that tendency, you'll find, and you know this as no other, especially in dating, what makes a girl really like you in conversation?
Sorry?
Well, in conversation.
Well, if she talks about herself.
Exactly. And especially when you let her talk about herself.
Yes.
I think that Robert's main point about all of this is not per se always say less than necessary, but more learn to shut up. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. But why is he saying that though? What is the benefit of shutting up? Is it because you lose power in front of other people if you don't? If you blunder too much?
I think yes, because when you have the tendency to speak a lot, you tend to say something stupid as well at a certain point. Maybe
Yes.
not consciously, but you increase the opportunity of saying something that might damage your reputation or have severe consequences.
And of course, as he says later, reputation is, is the most important thing of all.
Which is going to
So,
be an interesting show, by the way, when we get there.
Yeah. The other law that I keep thinking about when I think about this is the one about sending mixed messages as well, which is, I think, is a really interesting one. So that also will be a good show. But I suppose with that, there's this idea of not quite keeping people slightly on their guard, so they don't quite know where you're coming from. They don't quite know what your intentions are or what your end goal is. Can put you in a more powerful position than them, right?
Then you get to the backhanded compliments and things like that. But with always saying less than necessary as well, where it's like, when it comes back to dating, where it's like, does he like me? Like, this usually works like later on in the dating process, because in the beginning you do kind of want to speak, because that will come in handy when you get to know somebody. But
Yes.
when yeah, exactly. Like if you're just going to stand there and say nothing, she's not going to know that, well, you're interested in her.
Yes.
But,
Yeah.
but when
Yeah. Well, it's
go ahead.
No, carry on.
I've been saying more than necessary today.
Yeah. So on the point of sort of dating and so on, I just did a video where I said that two of the key things are mystery and distance. You've got to retain some mystery around yourself, and also a bit of distance from the girl. You're not calling her every day. You're not going on dates every day when you just met. You're keeping back a little bit. And I think this law actually plays into that, in the sense that say you're on a first date with a woman, and she says, "Well, what do you so what do you do?" You don't want to be the guy who kind of reels off his whole LinkedIn profile. You don't say, "Well, I'm currently working in IT. Previously, I was in IT for a major blue chip conglomeration, focusing on the IT market, and I was a senior assistant manager there for 4 years, and my 401k and blah blah blah." Like you don't want to bombard her with the boring minutiae, particularly about career, because that's inherently boring anyway. You want to just hold back a little bit. So you might say, a bit of this, bit of that. You know, I got some investments. I do some property stuff. But anyway, what about you? You said you worked in fashion, so what? You know, tell me more about that. That you want to hold back, I think. And I mean, I'm not talking about forever. I'm not. If you're married, obviously, you know, you're going to be more forthcoming and stuff. But you want to just sort of keep her guessing about you a bit, because if you're a completely open book, you know, the first day you sit down, you tell her all about you, all about what you want, your hopes and dreams for the future and everything like that. She's like, oh, okay, right, yeah, I've got it. I've got it. He's one of those guys. Okay, and it's a bit boring. Do you know what I mean? And then she's like, because she wants a challenge. She wants somebody who's going to fascinate her, I think. And if you're too open at the beginning, that doesn't happen.
Well, exactly. But even in marriage, it might work, because then we get to the later stages of dating and marriage and things like that. But that will create that sort of ambiguity, that sort of mystery. Like, why isn't he talking to me? Kind of thing. Normally, he's always so open about things. What is he hiding from me? Kind of thing.
Yeah,
Which
exactly.
gets the hamster spinning, which is exactly what you want, because her imagination is your greatest tool.
Yeah, exactly. Sterling Cooper in the house. Hello, Sterling. If it's the real Sterling Cooper, I think it is, though. So good to see you, mate. 2 rules for life: never reveal everything you know, and then we're on a cliffhanger to find out what the second part is. But yeah, I mean, well, people would, as with everything, you know, people would say, "Oh, you're being terribly manipulative and blah blah blah." Well, maybe you are a bit, but I mean, I think both sides are manipulative in the early stages of courtship. It's a bit of a game. It's a bit of a dance. Like when I did this video yesterday, and I conceded at the end. I said, "Look, it's a bit of a game, but this is just how human beings interact for the most part." And somebody underneath, right? I don't like games, and it's like, well, you know, you might not like them, but everyone else is playing them. So are you going to play, or are you going to sit on the sidelines?
Well,
and also, but also as well, I don't really think. I mean, you can call it a game, but I also think there's just simple pragmatism here. Really, I think. Like, I'm not going to reveal everything about, well, apart from on the internet, but I just reveal everything about myself anyway. But apart from that small detail, I'm not going to just reveal everything about myself to somebody that I've just met until I get to know them more. Do you know what I mean? Like, why would I? Why should I?
Well, exactly. And this comes like a good example of what not to do is, and you've seen first dates. It's like the guy sits there, the girl always asks the same bloody question. It's like, have you dated before? Or indeed, like, what do you do? And they throw up their entire life story, like all of it right away. It's on the table. There it is. Then you get then you get that vibe of, I do what I say and I say what I do. Where it's like, yeah, but there's no getting to know you anymore. Like, why should I hide that? It's who I am. Yes, but it goes against the fun part of the process, what dating is. Like, I've had that on dates with girls where I made a reference to my beautiful childhood, my absolutely beautiful childhood. It's like, oh, you should have met my mom. She's like, huh? What do you mean? It's like, you know what? It's a story for a later time. A story for a later time. But just some little dark, twisted humor on my own end where it's like, okay, that would have been pretty funny. But I don't reveal it at all because, first of all, I just barely met you. And that is like the whole Pandora's box that we're not going to open. Yeah. And I don't know you enough to share that with you. Now, this is a bit of an extreme example, but that leaves the door open for her to later on say, like, what's it with this guy? Or like, what do you do for a living? That's a beautiful one that I can use where it's like, I narrate audiobooks. It's like, oh, what did you narrate? Blah, blah, blah. Oh, economics and a bit of self-development and some adventures in the shady nightlife of London stuff. It's like, really? Well, kind of, you know, I don't know if I want to share that yet. It's like, you know, maybe later. Yeah. It's like, oh my God, what did he narrate? Oh, shady shit in London.
Well, particularly with us. I mean, we're a bad example in a way because I mean, obviously, I would go to great length to never. I'd rather tell people I worked in McDonald's than do what I actually do. um,
One of
I'm
my
only joking. I'm only joking, but no, I mean, yes, of course, if you're a content creator and you're talking about dating, that's also creates its own issue. But even when I was doing corporate work, I was working a corporate job. I still wouldn't talk about that either because it was boring, and because I was very conscious that the more that I gave away, the more that you. The thing is this, right? When she first meets you, to some degree, you're an object of fantasy for her. She is projecting whatever fantasies she has about the kind of guy she would like to meet onto you. In the same way that we might do of a pop star, rock star, whatever. We project the fantasies of, oh, they're this kind of person, they're this kind of character. And when you get to know them, they might not be actually like that at all. They might be a bit boring. They might be, whatever. So she's projecting, oh, I think you're this kind of guy. I think you're that kind of guy. And I've had girls that I've dated who actually do this. They're like, oh, I bet you're like this, or I bet you're, I bet you've done this and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, maybe. And actually, the stuff that they're talking about, sometimes it's not really, she's, oh, I bet you've done some dodgy things. I'm not really. But, I might let her think that because it's playing into her fantasy of the sort of guy that she wants to be having sex with at the moment. Right? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Oh, that makes a hell of a lot of sense because in that moment, you can find out what she thinks about you, which is in your benefit. Absolutely. At least when it's positive. But that allows you to play with it as well. There was one girl who gave me the greatest compliment ever, where she asked what my notch count was. And I'm like, what was it? Iron Rule 2 or something of Rolo, blessed be his name. Never reveal your notch count kind of thing. So I can't remember what I said. Like, what do you think it would be? And she estimated 5 times what it actually was. And I just look at her like, well, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
And at that moment, I was like, by God, is she into me? Because what you have to know, guys, is when she thinks that you've been with a lot of women, she likes you. Because
Yes.
for her, how could you not have been? Because she thinks you're awesome. And if you're awesome, of course you've been with a lot.
Yeah. Well, yeah, absolutely. And they will always, completely. I mean, they will always think, because she's into you, she'll think, oh, all these other women must be into him as well, which of course is not necessarily the case, as guys we know. I've had girls who are massively into me and think I'm amazing, and other women who wouldn't spit on me in the street, that's just the way it goes. But the girl that you're with, who really likes you, thinks, oh, he must have all these women after him. Every single woman in the world must be after him, etc.
I mean, I had a girl tell me yesterday, like, you look like a guy who would never use the self-checkout just so he can talk to the register girl, kind of thing. You look like a guy who is social enough to do that every time. It's
Who
like,
would what?
well, not use the self-checkout at the grocery store and just go for the conversation at the cash register.
Right. You mean in order to try and pull the girl on the cash register?
Could have been interpreted like that. I saw it more like, oh, you're so social. I bet you talk to everybody and never use the self-register kind of
I
thing.
prefer not to use the self-register things the self-cash register things anyway, because they never bloody work properly. You always
they always work here. Every now and then I'm kind of like, well, when there's a line or whatever, or like the cash register girl is just sitting there doing nothing, being bored, then I go like, okay, here, you have a job to do, thing. But normally
No,
I
but
just go through.
those self-register things, like I'm always, you're trying to put the thing through and it doesn't read properly, or it goes through twice, or I don't know, and then you have to call the person over and blah blah blah. I don't know, man.
This is where our age difference shows. Because they always
probably, I'm sounding like
or in England they're just terrible.
Well, they might be terrible. They might genuinely be terrible. I don't know, but there always has to be a attendant on hand to sort out problems, because there always seems to be problems with them. But I don't know. I mean, they seem to work quite well in Europe, actually, from what I've seen.
Hmm.
But we digress. We're going into Cappy territory.
I know. It's terrible.
Let me tell you another thing. These damn kids. But what was I going to say? Yeah, I mean, so because I was dating this girl a while back, and she was projecting all kinds of, you know, I'd given her this sort of slightly. I'd done all the things that I talk about when I was quite mysterious. I was quite vague about what I do and all this kind of stuff. I mean, just keeping everything very vague, more focusing the attention on her, blah 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 blah. And she was sort of saying things. Oh, I bet you've done some, you know, because she was implying that her dad was a bit of a a gangster, but you know, he does some dodgy dealings and stuff and whatever. And she was like, "Oh, I bet you've done some dodgy. You know, I bet you're like, you know, I bet you know gangsters. I bet you're into all that kind of stuff." And I'm like, well, maybe, you know, and sort of going along with it. Whereas actually, you know, that's not the case. But it was just it's just interesting how they will project what they want to see on you, if you know what I mean. And you don't want to then go, well, no, young lady, actually, I'm a very respectable member of society and I've paid into my national insurance on a regular basis. So, you know, I'll have you know. Because then her attraction is just going to go, woo.
You could do it, but you have to play it well, kind of thing, where you're being so sarcastic, she knows you're lying.
You could do that. You could do that, yeah.
Well, actually, I go to church every Sunday. Son of a preacher man.
You're going to church? Yeah, I see. Yeah.
It's like you bring up something so outrageously conformist that she has to go like, oh, he's still fucking with me, isn't he? It's like, damn it.
You could definitely do that. But so not in a dating context, not revealing too much about yourself for a period of time is a good thing, I think. Now, obviously, I mean, when would you say that you start to drop the veil a little bit? Because obviously, if you start dating somebody, you're hanging out with them more. There's still a balance, isn't there? Because I was talking about this on a podcast I was on recently, but even if you're dating somebody and you're in a kind of, you know, you're in a relationship, whatever, obviously, you're going to be a bit more open with her at that point about, well, this is what she's probably going to know what you do. She's going to know the, you know, blah, blah, blah. But even then, you want to avoid coming home to her with every like little tiny problem that comes up, every little tiny thing that goes wrong. Oh my God, I'm so worried about this. You've got to sort of keep it chill, haven't you?
Well, that's the impression you kind of want to have overall of having your shit together, kind of thing. Because if you express every little minute problem you have, not only her, but even your buddies are going to be like, damn it, man, you're always stressed. You're always panicked. Have you got your shit in order? Is there some things you need to figure out? And especially with girls, whether we like this or not, they don't want a guy who doesn't have their shit together. Maybe, just maybe in the beginning, she'll be like, oh, it's going to be fine, honey. But she doesn't want to be the one who needs to pamper you. She doesn't want to be your mom.
Yes.
Troy.
Well, I was on a show with Jay Waller recently. I mean, he's very hardcore about... he was very hardcore about, you know, like a man, you don't go to the woman with your problems, right? You've got your boys for that, right? You need to be the rock for her. You need to be the oak tree, or the combination of oak tree and rock, you know, whatever's the, compounded by 10, right? You've got to be that super, super solid, super stable kind of influence in her life. You don't want to be going back crying to her, do you?
Well, exactly. Like, she comes to you for that.
It was there was such an amusing moment on this with Jay Waller, right? There was this trans woman who was on the podcast, and she was saying, and she was also a sex worker as well, so it was quite hardcore. And she was saying, she was saying that she gets clients, like a lot of married clients, who were coming to her to use her services, and she was saying, oh, I can tell they're not happy because they talk about their problems to me and blah blah blah. And then the conversation carried on, and then she said something like, oh, sometimes I get men crying I get men crying in my bathroom. And Jay Waller's like, a real man don't cry in no hooker's bathroom. Which just,
But
I don't know, it just really tickled me. I think it's one of the greatest lines in manosphere history, to be honest.
real man no cry in a hooker's bathroom. God damn it. I mean, Jay Walker's that's the Southern guy, right? The 6 foot Southern Chad.
Yeah.
Jawline like a diamond sharpener. Like, he's pretty dope.
Yeah.
He sounds like fun. I haven't watched much of his content, but when I've seen him pop up, he's quite funny.
Yeah, he's quite funny. I mean, he's very charismatic. He's a great speaker, and he's got some, good things to say. But it's just quite funny. I think a real man doesn't cry.
But I've heard about the phenomenon, though. It's pretty depressing, where guys go to sex workers not even for sex, but just to talk to somebody. Pretty depressing.
Well, you do hear about that. Yes, I mean, you might as well get your end away while you're there, guys. I mean, look, if you're gonna go on the website and make that call, then you might as well actually just get your rocks off. But yes, they are looking, and that's a sad indictment, probably of male loneliness and probably of marriage as well. Given that these guys, they don't even really want the sex; they just want some understanding, which is, like I say, it's a very, very sad state of affairs, really, to go to a sex worker for that,
Pretty much, but that comes back to let's say these guys.
Say less than necessary when you're in a brothel.
Well, that is one, but what you see with these kind of guys who would go that far is that they're in their general life, they tend to be this vacuum of negativity as well, where, and I've heard this from friends who had a coworker, where the first thing they do in the morning is tell them about all their issues, just all their issues and their negativity and the horrible things that have happened to them, and it's like the vibe you give off to people when you are that guy is that they want to avoid you. You have become something to avoid instead of to invite into your life. So that is also one of those things where you want to say less than necessary. And I'm not saying that people all around don't care about you. Like they care probably a bit. But where it goes wrong is that you've become this never-ending spouting hose of negativity and problematic issues. Like, not everybody needs to know that. You need to fix it. That's what you need to do.
Well, yeah, you need to fix it. I suppose, though, to be responsible internet content creators, we should also pay lip service to the fact, or we should also say that if somebody is suffering from problems, at the same time, I guess they shouldn't be bottling that all up and not telling anybody and just being super stoic the whole time, right? They have to find an appropriate outlet for it. Perhaps.
Exactly, and that's mostly what I mean. Yes, like go to therapy, like talk to your closest associates. Mostly that.
I think this is actually is another reason why having a strong circle of friends and predominantly male friends is a good thing to do, and this is why I think things like the War Room and there's other groups that we see springing up are so popular, because guys want that support network. They want that support network of other dudes that they can talk to, and I think that is super, super important. Particularly, it's been said actually before in my case, but particularly if you're wherever you are in life, it's a good thing. But if you say you're single and you're kind of dating and whatever, blah, blah, blah. I mean, the kind of existence I live, I need to have confidants. I need to have people I can talk to, because otherwise I just go completely nuts. Do you know what I mean? You need to, you can't, you can be a lone wolf to some extent, but you can't completely be a lone wolf. Or at least I would say it's probably a very bad idea to do that. You need to have some grounding voices in your life and some people that you can sound off with and just get some feedback from.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, no man is an island. No man is an island. Absolutely not. But like this chapter is not necessarily about be unemotional or whatever, but mostly know when to say what and even say anything,
Yes.
instead
Yes.
of just thinking that everybody always wants to hear what's happening to you, which is not the case. Like, I'm sorry to be a Debbie Downer for some people. I'm not saying you shouldn't have emotions or whatever, but not everybody is waiting for you to express them, kind of thing. Be strategic about it.
Um, particularly in the case of male to female relationships, I think that's the key thing.
Mm-hmm. Well, when it comes to
I just need to hold 1 second. Can you just hold the thought?
yeah, I will hold down the fort. Let's go, guys. Mm. But it's a pretty interesting dynamic, like for guys who are watching right now. Why are we doing 48 Laws of Power? Maybe you have read The Game by Neil Strauss. A lot of guys, especially in the pickup industry, pickup community, apologies, not industry, community, wanted or had read 48 Laws of Power because, and I asked Rolo about this a while back, like, why was it so popular there? It mentions mostly, or he mentioned mostly, because they felt so powerless about the decisions in their own life because somebody somewhere was making the choices for their life. And that's where always say less than necessary comes in handy as well. The more you say to people, the more they know about you, the more they can use that against you as well. Now, I used the example, let's say, on the works floor, where, let's say, you keep saying whatever you want to say, then you're going to be guaranteed you're going to have that conversation with the floor manager or whoever, where it's like, hey, you said X, Y, and Z. We don't find that valuable here, or that doesn't align with our values, however when you want to describe it. We have decided not to, like, lengthen the contract or renew the contract. Or we've been getting some complaints about you where you spouted your opinion on X, Y, and Z, and we believe A, B, and C here. So that's why you always need to be aware of the fact that it is a human tendency to always want to speak out and not doing it.
Yes.
Kind of thing.
Indeed, indeed. And Billy Buster here says, will you cover the art of seduction next? Oh, you must be
Mate.
new here. We spent an entire year covering the art of seduction.
There is an array of videos on the whole art of seduction out there on both our channels.
Yeah,
even.
Absolutely. I'll try and post a link to the playlist under the video on my channel because yeah, we did we spent ages going through the art of seduction. This is series 2 really, because we did the art of seduction first. So yeah, loads of material there to look at. If anyone doesn't know that, yeah, we went through the entire book, which was really cool actually, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. It was. Especially where Robert, again, becomes a little bit theatric with his choose the right victim kind of thing, where we sit here trying to be Robert Greene apologists, where it's like, no, what he means is,
yeah,
you two, please don't ban us.
We're trying to sanitize it a little bit. No. Yeah, some of the language was just a bit, I don't know. Everything's got so increasingly politicized, even in the last few years, hasn't it? I don't know when that book came out. I mean, not maybe 15
Was
years
it the
ago or something.
90s or early 2000s?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure actually, but I mean, things change so quickly, don't they? That things you could have said in the 90s, probably you couldn't say now. But even things maybe people were saying 5 years ago or so, you know, are triggering now for some. So yeah.
Yes.
What a world we live in, guys.
I know. It's such a shame. Such a shame, really. It's like, can't we just have fun anymore? Can't we have fun anymore? Like, even like when with dating and things like that, because I like to like push the boundaries a bit. It's bad out there every now and then, where it's like, really, I can't even make a joke. Oh, but it was so offensive. It's like, oh, never mind, just go away. Like, this is not gonna work. Not gonna work.
Yeah.
Not gonna work.
Yeah. Well, I need to go and do a call actually quite soon. So maybe we could bring this one to an end. But yeah, always say less than necessary.
Yes, leave a bit of mystery, leave a bit of interpretation, and stop wanting to always let your will be known, because it's a bit of an ego thing. Try to push down the ego a bit and not always say or not always speak because you want to speak, kind of thing.
Yeah, because as you said, it increases the chances that you're gonna mess up. And actually, just a final thought here. So Paul Janker, who was very well known for doing, I suppose, an early version of Day Game, really in New York back in the early 2000s. His method was he would approach girls that he was interested in, say in coffee shops, whatever, and he'd have very, very brief conversations with them, like literally a couple of, hey, you look cute, hey, what are you doing, blah, blah, blah. Oh, cool. Hey, we should exchange numbers. Maybe we can grab coffee sometime or whatever, very, very brief, get the number, get out. And his rationale for that was exactly that. The longer that you spend in that interaction, the more chances you've got of messing it up somehow. Saying something she doesn't like. She thinks, oh, wait, this guy's an idiot. And he was very much on board with the idea of being the man of mystery, who just comes out of nowhere, says, oh, creates some positive emotions, gets the phone number, and then goes on again and leaves her wondering. And again, less is more, because you want to allow her to project her fantasies of the perfect man that she wants onto you, rather than spoil it all by telling her too much about yourself.
Yep, pretty much. Paul Jacob was pretty based. Jesus Christ, man. Just walks up. Hey, you look cute. Give me your number.
Yeah, man. I mean, yeah. He was, yeah. I mean, again,
straightforward. Boom.
Yeah.
Man, woman, go.
He was a Chad, though. So,
yeah, he did have that going for him. But I refuse to say that was the only reason.
Well, he's also got a very deep understanding of male-female dynamics, though. And people sort of overlook that. And even with somebody like Tusk, people say, oh, he's good looking, so that's it. But again, very acute understanding of the mechanics of this stuff. And that's what makes these people good as coaches and as teachers, because it's not just, oh, they look good. It's also they understand what they're doing on a very linear level, on a very granular level.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, pretty much. You got to have it if you want to get somewhere.
Exactly. Anyway, with that being said, let's call it to an end for today. Well, what have you got coming up?
I am doing an interview with Red Pill School in an hour. The man who made the Red Pill Archive, even. He goes by a different name nowadays, and apologies, that slips my mind right now. But I'll put a link out to that soon. I am also Red Evening is coming tonight for you Americans, since it's the morning for you. And other than that, I'm just busy with all sorts of stuff.
Absolutely. You? Well, I am in Berlin. I've got loads of content coming out. I'm going to be doing some streams, just solo streams over the next few days, I think. Just lots and lots of stuff coming up. I mean, again, super busy. Got a new book coming out in about maybe a couple of weeks, at the beginning of May. Fiction book, so that's to look forward to. And I'm going to start work on my new book about dating and relationships and all the rest of it. So lots of exciting stuff coming up. But anyway, and lest I should forget, CAD Academy is reopening for new students next week on the 27th. Okay, so Thursday
Nice.
the 27th to the 1st of May, you can enroll in Charisma and Dating Academy. It will teach you everything you need to know about becoming proficient in the art of dating, from zero to hero in dating. Places are limited, but it's open for 5 days. And then we're going to be doing a series of live webinars in early May. Perhaps you'd like to join one or two of those, Jack.
Mm-hmm. I'd love to.
Yeah, so if you want to jump on board with that, then information is going to be coming up very soon.
Awesome. Get on CAD Academy, guys. It really is the best video course on game out there. And I'm not just saying that. It really is fucking good.
Thanks, man. I shall clip that for a testimonial. And on that note, Absolutely, man. And on that note, I'll see you guys again. We will see you guys again very soon.
Cheers.
Bye bye.